আচ্ছা, গুড ইভিনিং। তাহলে তোরা দু তিনজন আছিস। আচ্ছা, তাহলে আজকে শোনা যাচ্ছে তো? হ্যালো, হ্যালো, শুনতে পাচ্ছিস?
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
ওকে ওকে, ঠিক আছে। আচ্ছা, তাহলে তোর প্রবলেমটা দিয়ে শুরু করছি। আমি তোকে একটা প্রবলেম করতে বলেছিলাম, তুই করতে পারিস না এখন অবধি। আমি তোকে বললাম গ্রাফটা এঁকে দেখাতে, তুই গ্রাফটা আজ অব্দি এঁকে দেখাতে পারলি না। হ্যাঁ, একটা সিম্পল ফাংশন ছিল এফ এক্স বা যাই হোক ওয়াই ইকুয়ালস টু এক্স মাইনাস বক্স এক্স। ঠিক আছে, এটা গ্রাফ কি করে আঁকবি? খুব সিম্পল। গ্রাফ আঁকতে বলা বলা মানে কিছু সিম্পল কোন একটা ইন্টারভ্যাল ধরে নিবি। ধর আমি বললাম এই ইন্টারভ্যালটা ধর 3, এটুকুনি আঁক, এটুকুনির মধ্যে এঁকে দেখা গ্রাফটা কিরকম করেছিস ঠিক, কিন্তু গ্রাফটা এঁকে দেখাসনি। তো আমরা যখন whenever you take this type of interval, the first thing that we do, we first look at the function. So the main problematic part is this box x. So the discontinuities of box x will arrive in the whole function. So actually the nature of this function is equivalent to the nature of this kind of function, only box x. So we add another x with box x. Actually not the exact addition, but actually a subtraction we are doing. But nevertheless, x is running from 0 to 3. তো আমরা কি করছি, আমরা একটা ইন্টারভ্যাল নিচ্ছি, this type of interval, that is we are breaking this interval in this part. So why we are breaking in this parts? Because we know the value of box x is fixed one in this interval, in this interval, and in this interval. In the whole interval 0 to 1, where 0 is included, the value of box x is nothing but 0. So the function becomes y equals to x. Whenever x is lying here 1 to 2, the value of box x, as you know, is 1. So this is x minus 1. And whenever x is lying between 2 to 3, carefully note that the lower bound is included but not the upper bound. So this is the function. So actually we have written this function, actually this function over this interval, and if you simplify things out, this things turns out to be this. Now you have a graph. How to draw the function? So see, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So see, whenever x is running from 0 to x, the function is y is equals to x. So as you know, this is the equation of a straight line, y equals to mx plus c. So this is the equation of a straight line, as you know. So since y equals to x in the range 0 to 1, so equation is like this. If you draw, this is a straight line passing through origin, and actually this is a whole straight line. It's going there and also downwards. But since we are only considering this range 0 to 1, so we are taking only the part of the graph which is lying in between 0 to 1, this part only. If you draw, this is the whole thing, this is the whole thing, and in the backwards this thing is there. This is your axis, this is your y axis, and this is your x axis. So this graph will be there. Now whenever you move on from 0 to 1 to 1 to 2, the graph will be slightly different. So what will be the graph? This is exactly the straight line, y equals to x minus 1. So what is the equation of the straight line? Y equals to, how to draw the graph of y equals to x minus 1? You see, if you put the value of x to be 1, this thing is 0, y is equals to 0. So whenever x is 1, y is 0. So this is the point through which the straight line is passing. So, and you see, this, the value of m is 1, that means m is basically 1, that means theta is equals to pi by 4. So the slope of the straight line is pi by 4, and or you can do it another way. See, this y equals to x, and x minus 1 is straight line which is parallel to y equals to x, because you see the slopes are the same. Well, this is 1, this is 1, there is also 1. So the all these are parallel straight lines, but the difference between them is this c part. So c part is changing, hence they are actually parallel straight lines, parallel to straight lines with, okay, join করে দিই ঠিক করে। So whenever you check this thing, you will get this is the straight line y equals to x minus 1. But which part you are only considering? You are only considering the part which is only between lying between 1 to 2. So you are considering only that part, so up to that part, from this to this. So for x equals to lying in this region, the y will be, you will get y only in this part. So we are not taking this part, we are discarding these things. So in this way, if you draw y equals to x minus 2, this will be another straight line, and this will be like this. So because you know y equals to x minus 2, this is a straight line which is again parallel to the straight line y is equals to x, and again this straight line is passing through 2 comma 0 point, because if we put x is equals to 2, y, if you will get y is to be 0. So the equation, or this equation of straight line is passing through this point, and obviously this straight line is parallel to the straight line this one. So we are only considering the part of the straight line which is actually lying between 2 to 3. So only the part of the straight line which is lying there. So this is the graph of the function y equals to x minus mod x in this region 0 to 3, and as you see, there is a problem. So what is the problem? Not exactly a problem, because there are many problems. So what are the problems? The problems are actually the problems of discontinuity. Discontinuity arises here. So you see, the at all the points, at all the integer points, this 0 1 2, and obviously there will be, if you extend the definition to this side and left hand side also, you will see at all the integer points, not only the positives one but the negative ones and also 0, you will get points of discontinuity, because there are two different branches and the function is jumping from one branch to another. So at the point 0 comma 1 comma 2 comma 3, like box x, this function y is equals to x minus box x, this function has also points of discontinuities, and the points of discontinuities are infinite actually. So the whole set of all integers, the whole set is the point of discontinuity. So this is the idea. So I think you can describe what is meant, or what is the type of discontinuity you are facing in this point. At this point, actually this 1 2 or 3, I think you will be able to analyze these things, but the graph, the function is like this one. Okay, you are just, you see, you have some parallel straight lines. You just draw that straight lines and only take those parts which are of relevant to you, because relevant means the thing which is or in the region in which that part is defined only. So x minus 1, y is equals to x minus 1. This can be the straight line, the whole straight line, but you are only taking the part of the straight line which is lying, or that part of the straight line which is lying in this region for x is less equals to 1 to x less 2 in this region. So in this region, whatever part you have, you will consider only those part and you discard the other part. So if you see at or very near to 2, the value of y is goes to 1. So this the height is 1, and at the very end, at the point 1, this the height is 0. So this thing will be there. So all the heights are from 0. This is increasing from 0 to 1. This is also 0 to 1. This is also 0 to 1. Okay. So we have discontinuity over at these points. Okay, এটা আমার বলার দরকার ছিল, বলে দিলাম। আর যদি if you have any other problems, you can share with me. And at first try to draw the graph or try to see the graph from there are several websites available in the internet. You can check the graph of the function and try to visualize how this graph is coming, and then to try to draw some graphs of some functions on your own. In this way you will be able to visualize or draw those graphs. So actually if you can't draw the graphs, you won't be able to understand this continuity thing or the points of discontinuity. So this thing you need to understand. And next thing which I must mention, that is it is very much needed everywhere, that is partial derivatives. So actually I have talked a lot of things about partial derivatives. Means this function of several variables. So the first thing is that you must be able to find partial derivatives. So if you are given some functions and you are asked to find out what are their partial derivatives, there may be partial derivatives of first order. So what do you mean by partial derivatives of first order? This is meant by fx or del f del x, anything, and fy or del f del y. So you are given a function, and let me give you one example. The things are actually very simple. So you have to have a good idea of how to do the derivatives or for function of one single variable that you have done in your lower classes. You must have the ideas, or you must know the rules. Those rules I am not going to talk, but that rules you should know, and by knowing all these rules there only you can find derivatives or the partial derivatives here, because all the rules which holds there or which hold there you can use here. So how to check? So let me give you some fine examples. So see, I have given one example. This function you see is a function of 3 variables, not 2 but 3 variables. So you see the function is or the f is a function of 3 independent variables. So number 1 x, number 2 y, and number 3 z. So this is our function, x by y, y by z plus z by x. So now the question is, what is fx or del f del x, what is fy or del f del y, and what is fz or del f del z. So in general f of x or del f del x, whatever you can say, you can say anything, it will be a function of x, y, z is by default. Okay, so what is meant by this f of x? That is, we are deriving or taking derivative of the function f partially with respect to x. That means we are considering the other variables to be constant. So we are derivating this whole thing, and you should keep it or keep the fact in your mind that while performing this derivative, you are taking y and z to be constant. You just treat them as constant. That means this y, z, z. So whenever you see y, treat it as constant. Whenever you see z, treat z to be constant. Only derivative this x thing. So all the rules of function of single variable holds there. That means if you are doing derivative of this whole function, we can derive the parts. That means some functions are there with addition symbols, and you are asked to do derivative of whole thing. You can do this derivative of this thing, then derivative of this thing, and derivative of this thing, and then you add them. So the results will be the same. Or this is the result. Actually, this is the theory of derivative, which tells you that you can do such kind of thing. That means whenever you are, suppose you are given two functions f and g, and you are derivating with respect to x. This is the thing I am talking about, function of single variable. So that means you can do this kind of thing. Okay, so such kind of things are allowed. So while doing this thing, actually one thing you need to assure that since you are doing or taking derivative of this f plus g, this f plus g should be derivable, and individually these functions f and g, these two functions must be derivable. So what does it mean? This is actually this kind of thing can occur. Suppose this f plus g is 2x, and now you take f to be x minus box x and g to be x plus box x. See, if you add f plus g individually, you will get this kind of function. So you can say that you can decompose this f plus g to this function f and g. But for these two functions, such kind of relation law cannot hold, because you see the function f is not derivable, because this, you see, there is a type of discontinuity here, and the function g is not derivable because there is a discontinuity, there is a points of discontinuity. So whatever functions you break, make sure that those functions are derivable. So you can't take such kind of function, So you know, addition of two function is twice x. Now you can factor out, or you can take any two functions f and g, whose addition you will give you 2x, but the individual functions you can take anyway. So there are lots of possibilities. So but make sure that f and g should be derivable. In that case, you can write this kind of law. So this kind of law also holds here. So whenever you are doing the taking derivatives, just first take the first term. You know, this 1 by y is nothing but constant. Since you are taking derivative with partially with respect to x, because y or z are constant. So this thing is constant. So 1 by y is constant, and you are taking derivative of this thing with respect to x. So since the derivative will give you nothing but 1. Okay, and this whole thing is actually, this y and z are constant. So this ratio is a constant, because you are taking y and z to be constant. So y by z is a ratio, which is again a constant, and you are taking derivative. There is no x term involved. So whenever you take this derivative, you will get 0. Okay, because this is a constant term. And whenever you are getting or taking derivative of this thing, you see this z is a constant, it will come out, and you have to perform the derivative of 1 by x, this 1 by x thing. And you know, whenever you do derivative of this thing, you will get this thing. I think you all know how to do the derivative of or ddx of 1 by x. You all know this thing will come. So actually the thing becomes 1 by y minus z by x square. So things become this. So now if I ask you what is fy, so what will be this thing? Okay, bol bhai. So what is fy? That means you are taking partial derivative with respect to y, obviously. If you see the symbol y, that means you are doing partial derivative with respect to y, and all the other variables, all the other independent variables, you are treating them as constant. Okay, that's the fact. So now, what is f of y? Can you say? কে বলবি? একজন বল ফেল কত হবে?
minus x by y square plus 1 by z.
Very good. And the last term will be 0. So this is the partial derivative, and again, if you do this thing, since you are taking z to be constant, we are taking partial derivative with respect to z, we are taking x1 y to be constant, this thing will come 0. Okay, this thing will give you minus y by z square, and the last term will give you 1 by x. So in this way you can get the first order partial derivatives. Now the thing, there may be other possibilities, like you may be asked what is fxx, what is fxy, what is, say, xz, what is, like, there are many possibilities will be there. If yy, if yx, if yz, if zy. So lots of possibilities are there. These things can happen. So for I think I guess these possibilities will be there. If zz will be there, if zx will be there, if zy, no, but yz will be there, because there. So these possibilities can be you have for second order partial derivatives. This one 3 3 9, actually I think, I guess 9, xx, xy, xz, yx, yz, yx, yy, yz. Acha, oh, 2 yz is there, so no point in writing 2 times. So actually 9 possibilities will be there, total 9. So these mixed derivatives, mixed second order partial derivatives, they may ask to find out this type of thing. So whenever this thing will be asked, you must know that if xx is nothing but you have to do the partial derivative with respect to z, of which this fx. So what is fx? Fx you have in the last page, and you see fx is nothing but 1 by y plus or minus, actually, z by x square, and you have to derive or have to take partial derivatives of this function with respect to x. That means this is like what is the thing, 1 by y minus z by x square, 1 by y minus z by x square. So what is mean by this? You are taking partial derivatives with respect to x, and since you are taking with respect to x, you are treating y and z to be constant. So see, in this term there is only y, so this term is constant. So its derivative, partial derivative with respect to x, will give you 0, and partial derivative of this term is actually this z will come out, and you have to do the partial derivative of this thing. So this is nothing but normal derivative of 1 by x square, and one minus will come, and this minus and this, and this x square will become x cube, and the thing will become twice z by x cube. So in this way you can calculate this, all the 9 derivatives, all these 9 derivatives you can calculate. So is the way of calculation. So I have shown you, and I think you will be comfortable while doing the problems on your exercise. So there will be a lot of things, a lot of questions they will ask. They will ask to do some inequality, or inequality maybe, where you have to perform, or you have to do find out those derivatives, and have to apply those things and prove something. So this kind of problem you will get in your university exam or in your book also, and you see there are lots of problems are solved in the this book also, your book also, where you will see such things are done. So apart from this from function of several variable, now I move on to the mean value theorems. So I guess this part is covered by, in your the extension lecture. So I guess you have understood all 3 mean value theorem. Actually there are this Rolle's theorem, number 2 this is Lagrange's theorem, number 3 Cauchy's theorem. So these 3 type of mean value theorem are there in your syllabus. So what is meant by mean value? You see this mean means an average. So actually this theorem gives you estimate or the average, the value of some functions at some points, or it gives you some idea about the nature of some functions basically. So what is the type of functions? Actually they are not in general functions, but there are some functions with some particular properties. They need to satisfy some particular properties, without which you can't say anything. So what are those properties that need to be satisfied in order to apply those MVT or mean value theorem? So in order to apply those mean value theorem, you need to have a function which is OLVF. OLVF means this true property this function must satisfy. The first one is the continuity of the function, and number 2 is derivability of the function. These 2 properties are very much important. If function satisfies these 2 properties, then we can say something. So actually, Rolle's theorem comes before Lagrange's theorem, but this Lagrange's theorem is more general than Rolle's theorem. So I am telling you again that I guess these parts are covered very well by the external expert, but for the sake of clarity, just mention 2 or 3 words that you should know that statement of Rolle's theorem you should know, and using those statement you have to prove Lagrange's theorem, Cauchy's theorem, and you have to do sums where you will be given some function and will be asked check whether you can apply Rolle's theorem over the function. So whenever some checking is there. You should understand that that function, for that function you have to justify whether the function is continuous or the derivability condition is there. And whenever they ask you to verify Rolle's theorem, and you know that in Rolle's theorem there is extra another condition that the value of the function at the endpoints are equal. So except continuity and derivability, so continuity is required, derivability is required. In general, continuity and derivability are required in this continuity part is required in closed interval, derivability required in open interval, and the third condition, that is this at the endpoints the value of the functions are equal. These three things are required for Rolle's theorem. So this mean value theorem, I am telling you again that the mean value theorem is the property of a function which is continuous and derivable, such kind of function, and these functions actually should, as this function are continuous and derivable in these regions, so this function actually MVT is the property of the continuous function in a closed and bounded interval. And over the continuity you need obviously derivability. Without derivability you can't say anything, and you should have this the endpoint equality for the for applying Rolle's theorem. You need to have this kind of thing. But you see, whenever you do this Lagrange's thing, you don't need the equality at the endpoints, and in the Lagrange's theorem you just only need this continuity and derivability. So whenever you talk about Rolle's theorem, if the function is continuous in the closed interval and derivable in this open interval and the endpoints value are equal, then Rolle's theorem suggests that there exists some C in the interval this AB where this value is 0. So this is the Rolle's theorem. So make sure you can write Rolle's theorem, because they will ask you to write the theorem, not the proof but the theorem. You have to write the theorem, what is Rolle's theorem. And then this Lagrange's theorem generally comes and ask you to prove this Lagrange's theorem. Actually this is a very simple theorem and very simple proof. Both Lagrange's and Cauchy's theorem are very simple to prove. If these proofs are not covered in your the lecture, please go through the proof in your book. They are very simple. They are just normal extension of this Rolle's theorem, but or simple application of Rolle's theorem, I can say. And if you know, I think you know this in the Lagrange's theorem you need the continuity, derivability, and this Lagrange's theorem tells you that such kind of thing, that fb minus fa is actually is equals to b minus a into f dash c. Such kind of things happen. And you see, whenever fb is equals to fa, f dash c is equals to 0. So from the Lagrange's theorem you can go Rolle's theorem, or you can prove Rolle's theorem. So Lagrange's theorem in this way is more general than Rolle's theorem. So from the Lagrange's theorem you can derive Rolle's theorem if you do the proof of this Lagrange's theorem without taking Rolle's theorem. Because actually whenever you do the, or you see the proof of this Lagrange's theorem, you will see that this Rolle's theorem, the proof of Rolle's theorem, or the application, this Lagrange's theorem is nothing but an application of Rolle's theorem. So in the true sense you are doing the proof of Lagrange's theorem from Rolle's theorem. So in technically, from the conclusion of Lagrange's theorem, it is obvious that you can derive this Rolle's theorem because you have used the proof in the Lagrange's theorem. So but in general, if you think it more generally, that and if you are able to do the proof of Lagrange's theorem without considering that Rolle's theorem, you can say only then that the Lagrange's theorem is more general than Rolle's theorem. And there is another important theorem, which is given by Cauchy, another mean value theorem. So in this theorem also, so it's a little bit different because in the Cauchy's theorem, two variables are actually two functions are involved. One function is f and another is g. Two functions are involved, and the both functions are continuous and differentiable. So this function is continuous in the closed interval and differentiable in open interval. Actually, the interval is nothing but this AB. The function is this closed interval, and this is the open interval. And these two functions are continuous and derivable. This continuous in the closed interval and differentiable or derivable in this open interval. And another condition is there that g dash x is non-zero. G dash x is non-zero for all x in the open interval. For all x belongs to AB. So the value of the derivative of the function g is non-zero for all x. You see, the function is derivable in the open interval AB. So these both functions, but for particular g function, we are taking that this function is not, the derivative of this function is not zero at any points. So if this happens, we can say that f of b minus f of a, this thing, and if you divide g of b minus g of a, things becomes f dash c by g dash c. So this thing happens, or this is the conclusion of Lagrange theorem, this is the conclusion of Rolle's theorem, and this is the conclusion of Cauchy's mean value theorem. So Cauchy's mean value theorem is a mean value theorem considering where we consider two functions f and g. Both functions are continuous in the closed interval. Both functions are derivable in the open interval. And number 3 point is this point, that we take this g function or the derivative of the g function to be non-zero for all x belongs to a. If this happens, this kind of thing, you will see that fb minus fa by divided by gb minus ga is equals to f dash c minus divided by g dash c. So this thing happens. So we just go through the proof, and these proofs do come in your exam, that this proof of Lagrange's theorem and Cauchy's theorem. The idea of the proof is very simple. In the Lagrange's theorem or Cauchy's theorem, generally we construct a function, or a function is constructed on which we can apply Rolle's theorem. This is the point of proof. So I am telling you the point of proof that in the Lagrange's theorem or in the Cauchy's theorem, you have to construct a new function over which the Rolle's theorem you can apply. So for the application of Rolle's theorem, actually these first two conditions, this continuity part and differentiability part or derivability part, they are actually trivially satisfied. No problem will be there. But this thing you need to satisfy, and this required a little bit of algebraic manipulations, and these algebraic manipulations will give you some functions over which you can, or which this function satisfies Rolle's theorem, and then you apply the conclusion of the Rolle's theorem that f dash c will be 0, and this thing from this conclusion you can at once derive Lagrange's result. So this is a way of proof of Lagrange's mean value theorem, and even Cauchy's mean value theorem also, where we generally construct a particular type of function for Lagrange's theorem and another particular function for Cauchy's theorem, and we just then apply a Rolle's theorem over these two functions and prove these lines or prove the results. Okay, so just go through the proof, but I will not go through the proof, but we will give you an example, nice example of or how to verify Rolle's theorem for some functions. So this will be very much beneficial. So this kind of problem do come in your exam, like this kind of functions. Let's say f of x, c minus fx 5x plus 6. So f is a function, this kind of function where x is lying in this range. Okay, so question is verify Rolle's theorem. How to verify Rolle's theorem? So the first point of Rolle's theorem, the function, or first check what is the domain of the function. You see, the domain is nothing but this, and since this is a polynomial function, is nothing but a real valued function. Is very clear. Now check the three requirements to apply Rolle's theorem. First thing is continuity. That function should be continuous in the region. So see, this is a polynomial function, and you know any polynomial function, if is polynomial and hence continuous in this, you know any polynomial function is continuous. So if you are given this kind of domain, so the function, that polynomial function should be continuous in the domain 1 or 4. Number 2, if is a polynomial function and hence it is also differentiable. The conclusion is the same, differential or derivable, whatever you say, in this region. At the endpoints at 1 or 4, we don't actually need, or we don't require to check the derivability, because in the definition or in the statement of Rolle's theorem, there is you see that the continuity is over closed interval, but derivability will be over this open interval. So we don't need to check what is about the derivability at the endpoints, like x is equals to 1 or x is equals to 4. And the number 3 points, you should, this thing will be there, and is it really happening? You have to check. I can't say without checking this thing. Now if you check, if you put x is equals to 1, you see this 1 square minus 5 plus 6, and if it is happening, you have to find out. So is it happening? Is it, if you calculate this thing, you will get 2, and whenever you calculate, or if you put this 4, you will get 4 square, 16 minus 4 into 5, 20, 16 minus 20 is minus 4, and 6 plus 6, that means 2. So you see this thing is happening. F of 1 is equals to f of 4. So this function is satisfying the Rolle's theorem, the prerequisites of Rolle's theorem. Okay, so whenever they tell you to verify Rolle's theorem, that means you have to verify the existence of C. So since the function is satisfying all conditions of the Rolle's theorem, so Rolle's theorem tells you that there exists a point C such that f dash C is equals to 0, and this C should lie between this region 1 to 4. So this thing you need to verify. Is there a point where f dash C is equals to 0? Rolle's theorem is telling that yes, there is a point. And if you check, how to check? You know, fx is equals to x square minus 5x plus 6. Now if you take the derivative f dash x, this becomes 2x minus 5. So whenever this f dash x is 0, when or at which point you will see x equals to 5 by 2. That means this point, actually that point C is this 5 by 2, because this 5 by 2 is lying in this region So C is equals to basically 5/2. So the Rolle's theorem is satisfied. So Rolle's theorem tells you that the existence of a point, but Rolle's theorem does not tell you how to find that point C. That point C will be evaluated from here. You know the definition from the function f of x. You do the derivative, and from the derivative you just calculate out whenever or at which point this f dash x is equals to 0, and from this you can easily say that at c is equals to 5/2, this f dash x is 0, but make sure that c should satisfy this thing 1 to 4. This is 5/2, that means 2.5. So this 5/2 is surely is lying between 1 to 4. So the Rolle's theorem is verified. So in this way we can verify Rolle's theorem. This type of problems actually comes in your exam, and this problem very common. So do check this kind of problems. These kind of problems are solved in your many problems are solved in your exercise. Do check those problems, and some problems this verifying Rolle's theorem, like some similar problems from Lagrange's mean value theorem can also come. So you will be given some function and you'll be asked to verify Lagrange's mean value theorem. You will do in the same way. You just assure the continuity and the derivability of the function, and the Lagrange's theorem will tell you. But the third condition is not required. Like Lagrange's case, this third condition is not required. And the conclusion of Lagrange's theorem is a bit different. It says that fb minus fa is equals to d minus a divided by into f dash c. So such kind of conclusions is given from Lagrange's theorem, and from such conclusion you have to calculate out what is the value of c, and do check that whether this is really the case that c is lying between a and b. So make sure that c is lying between a and b. So if this happens, then the function or the Lagrange's theorem is verified. So you just calculate fb minus fa and do these things, and f dash c you will get. And now what is f dash c? This function is the form of the function is given. You can easily find out what is f dash c. So now you will have an equation involving c. From the equation you solve out what is c, and do check whether this c is lying between a and b. So if it is happening, then Lagrange's theorem is verified. So such kind of things can come in your exam. These are the all forms mean value theorem, and to check the proofs. So apart from this, actually there are some applications like whenever you can say the function is increasing or decreasing, such kind of thing actually do come in your exam. That this kind of problem are very much common. That such kind of problems, this type of problems come regularly. Or this kind of, there can be similar kind of problem involving sin x or tan x. These kind of problems actually do come in your exam. So these are the examples where you have to check whether the function is increasing or decreasing. So I think you know somehow that whenever the function is increasing function, the sign of the derivative is greater than 0, and whenever the sign of the derivative is less than 0, is decreasing. So that means if you have a function and the derivative is greater than 0, you can say phi is increasing, and whenever this is less than 0, you say phi is decreasing. This is the rule. So how these rules comes, or from where these rules comes, this I think you know this is the example of mean value theorem. They are the application of mean value theorem. So whenever you do you can do one thing, that you can just prove the Lagrange's theorem and just simplify out this Lagrange's theorem. You can, from that Lagrange's theorem, you can do this kind of, or you can get such kind of expression, or from the, there are certain form of Lagrange's mean value theorem in the which is like an expansion like kind of thing, such as this kind of relation. You see, this is the Lagrange's theorem. This is the Lagrange's MVT. If you remember, actually, the previous page I have written, you see, whenever I have written this Lagrange's MVT, I have written fb minus fa divided is equals to b minus a into f dash c. So in place of b, I have taken x, and in place of a, I have taken 0. So interval is nothing but 0 comma x, and you just put b to be x, a to be 0, this becomes x. And what is f dash c? C is any point between 0 to x. That's why we can write like as theta x, where theta is the point, or theta is the value between 0 to 1. This things is the simple rewriting of the Lagrange's theorem. So from the Lagrange's theorem, we can get such kind of result. So from this kind of result, actually we can prove all this kind of inequality. So we can try and do, because this kind of all this kind of inequality you can prove from this Lagrange's theorem. This is the application part of phi dash x is greater than 0. So whenever x is increasing function, sorry, phi is increasing function, if you check the derivative, the definition of the derivative gives you like this. This is this kind of definition, you know, about phi dash x. So what is the basic idea? The basic idea is that since the function is increasing function, so the value of the function at x plus h, that is a very near point to x, should be greater than the value at x, because we are moving from x to x plus h, and h plus h, here h is positive. So since if the function is increasing, the value of the function at x will be lesser than the value at x plus h. So this thing is positive. So this limit, if you can evaluate, actually you can evaluate, because you know this derivative exists. This is assured. So this is actually a positive function. So for a positive function, whatever limit you can calculate, this calculation will give you always greater than 0. So this is the basically idea. So I'm not going to the proof, because in the proof this idea of Lagrange's theorem actually you will need. So I'm not going, just giving you a glimpse of why this is so, or why the function is increasing, means the derivative, if the derivative of the function exists, then the derivative should be greater than 0. So the increasing and decreasing, whenever the function may be, if the function is derivable, the derivative should be greater than 0 for increasing function, and derivative is less than 0 for decreasing function. So you have to first assure that the function should be derivable. Without the assurance, you can't say this kind of thing. So this is the condition by derivability for increasing or decreasing function. So this relation or this kind of thing is we consider while proving such kind of inequality, and I think we have proved this kind of inequality via taking such kind of functions like phi x is equals to log 1 plus x minus x by, so okay, so you just move this to this part and have to show this thing is greater than 0. So this is your phi x, and from this phi x the thing you will do, you will find out what is phi dash x, and from that phi dash x you show that this phi dash x is greater than 0 whenever x is greater than 0. So that means the phi x is an increasing function for x. Since phi dash x is greater than 0, it means phi is an increasing function for x greater than 0. This is our conclusion. So since phi x is increasing function, that is, you know that phi x is greater than phi 0 whenever x is greater than 0. Since x is greater than 0, so if phi of x is will be greater than phi of 0 because phi is an increasing function. So now you have to calculate out what is phi of 0. If you calculate from here, you will get phi of 0 is nothing but 0. This is the equals to 0, and what is phi x is this. So this is greater than 0. Hence, one side of the inequality is already satisfied. So you will now do the other side in the similar fashion. So in this way, we actually encounter such kind of problems in mean value theorem. Actually, these are applications, but I'm not going into details of how to this actually giving you some glimpse of that why this phi dash x is greater than 0 or less than 0 gives you the condition of increasing or decreasing functions. So actually, I'm telling you again that these things do come from Lagrange's theorem. So this is the case, and from apart from this thing, I think I need to talk one last thing. So I think I have time, so no problem. The last thing which you need to understand is Taylor's theorem. Taylor's theorem plus so first thing that I should tell you that this Taylor series is a different thing from Taylor's theorem or the usual Taylor's polynomial, which I am going to talk right now, because this Taylor series theorem is quite difficult from your standard, because you this idea of Taylor series, whatever when we write, this require the sense of convergence and divergence, and this sense of convergence and divergence you are not familiar with. These things are in the syllabus of the third semester, not in the first semester. And I know you don't have mathematics in the third semester, you only have in first and second semester. So you will not be able to read or understand what is meant by convergence and what is meant by divergence of the Taylor series. So without understanding these properties, I can't explain what is meant by Taylor series. Taylor series means this series. Whenever I write series, it means infinite series. So I think you have somehow read this kind of thing in your class, lower classes. This kind of expression, this kind of expansions you have shown in the lower classes. But perfectly, I can say that this Taylor series should not be there in this syllabus. So only the Taylor's theorem part or the Taylor's polynomial part that I can say should be there or can be there in your syllabus. So the idea is like this thing. You have a function f of x, and you want this function. This can be any function, any particular kind of function, and you want to write this function in terms of some polynomial. So the idea is to, you have a function which may not be a polynomial, but you want to express the function as a polynomial. So how it is possible? Let's assume this is a function. This is a function. This is not a polynomial. Polynomial, which kind of functions are called polynomial? If you remember, this is a third order polynomial. An example, in general form, if you want to write the general form of this kind of thing, this, so actually I have missed one term. So this thing actually will be like this. A0 a1 a0 a1x a2x square a3x cube, in this way. So this is the general form of third order polynomial of degree 3. So in this way you can generalize degree 4, degree 5 in this way. So this is the general term. This is not a general, but this is the general form of the third order polynomial. So but sin x, you know, this is not a polynomial. Then our idea is, we want to express this sine function as a polynomial. Is it possible, or how it is possible? The possibility, or the way is, you can do in this way, that you have a function which is not a polynomial, you write it as a polynomial in x of degree n. So you must have some error. That is the idea. You have a function, express this function as a polynomial of degree n, then there will be some error. So this error, why this error is happening here? Because we know this function is not a polynomial. We are just approximating that function via some polynomial. So there must be some error. And this polynomial, actually, the polynomial we take, this polynomial is called Taylor's polynomial. This is the thing which is called Taylor's polynomial. So what is the form of Taylor's polynomial? This Taylor's polynomial, actually we can write in this way, this, like f of a plus f dash a this is the Taylor's polynomial, okay, of degree n minus 1. I have written purposely for n minus 1, not exactly n, but n minus 1. You can also extend, you can take another term. So this is a Taylor's polynomial, and you see the function, given function, you can say sin x. It's not a polynomial, but you are taking a polynomial to approximate this function, and then you should have some error thing. What will be the error? That we don't know, but this error have some form. So that I will tell you. This error part, actually, it has another name that is called remainder term. Remainder. So this remainder can be of different forms, and this polynomial is called Taylor's polynomial. So this is a Taylor's polynomial of degree n-1. Okay, so not is degree n but degree n-1, because the highest term present CC is of degree n-1. This is a Taylor's polynomial in x, sorry, h. I have written as a Taylor's polynomial in h. You can write as a Taylor's polynomial of x. You have to replace this h by x, and you can easily do that thing. So in this way, this is a Taylor's polynomial. I can say polynomial in H. So what is A? That I will make you clear. This A is nothing big deal. So this is a polynomial in H. Actually, A is nothing, but we are considering this region. The function is defined from this region, is a real valued function from this region, and if a function, this Taylor's theory tells you that the number one condition, if a function is given such that this f, its derivative, or you can like f of x, f dash x, you can take. So all the derivatives up to fn-1, these are continuous in closed interval AB. And number two, if n its derivative exists in this region. So for example, if the value of n to be 2, this fx n-2 becomes 1. That means f x and f dash x, these two terms are, these two things are continuous, and f2, that means f double dash x is or exist. So you need continuity of these two things, and this thing exists. That means you don't need exactly the continuity of f double dash. Okay, you actually don't need the continuity of f double dash. You just need this f double dash just exist. You don't need. You just need the continuity of, actually you have a function, from the function you can calculate this thing, f dash, f double dash, you can calculate. Now you need to have continuity of these two things, and derivability of this. This last part tells you that this thing is, or this f double dash exists. Exist means, this thing exists means all things are this f dash, they are actually derivable. Because f double dash exists, that means the derivative, the second order derivative exists. That means that if dash is derivable, f is obviously derivable. Because if f dash is not derivable, then how come this f double dash will exist? So in order to, or you have to, for the existence of f double dash x, you have to have the existence of f and f double dash. You have to have the derivability of f and f dash. So this, the last line assures the derivability of f and f double dash, f dash, these two things. The first condition tells you that continuity of these two things, and the last line, the last part tells you the derivability of these two. Okay, so likewise you can generalize the idea for greater than 2 thing also. So if this thing happens, then there exists theta. So the what is actually this is actually then requirement of Taylor's theorem, and if this happens, then what you will get? You will get this thing. I am going to write in the next page. Then you can write this f of a plus h to be that Taylor polynomial. This thing will be there. All these things will be there up to h to the power n minus 1 divided by n minus 1 factorial and f n minus 1 a. Obviously, this is there will be a Rn which is called remainder. So the Taylor's theorem give you the way of how to connect that Taylor polynomial with the function, with the given function. So, and how to connect, and what is the region where we can connect, that thing is given by Taylor's theorem. What are the conditions by which you can connect? So this theorem tells you that the value of the function at a plus h, which is very near to a. See, a is a point. You are taking the derivative and the functional value at all the points. You see f at f is equals to a, f a, f dash a, f double dash a. So all these things. So you are calculating, or you need these results. F a, f dash a, f double dash a. All these things, all these derivative value you need in order to, you have to have this for this polynomial, and you are considering the functional value at a plus h. This h is a very small gap, so the value of the function at a point is very near to a, that is a plus h, is given by the Taylor polynomial of the function at a. Okay, plus there will be some error, or this error is called remainder term. This remainder term is there are actually many forms, but the standard ones are in this way: h to the power n, if n a plus theta h, and this can be this thing, or can we have this kind of form: h to the power n 1 minus theta whole to the power n minus 1 divided by n minus 1 factorial, this kind of thing, and there will be fn a plus theta h. So theta is nothing but this thing. So these are two remainder form. The first one is called Lagrange's remainder, and the last remainder is called Cauchy's form of remainder. So Taylor's theorem, in general Taylor's theorem, the remainder term can be of many forms. In your syllabus, there are two types of form. Actually, the first one is Lagrange's and second one is Cauchy's. There is another form, like we said, Skomil-Roche's remainder form, like that. So you don't need all these things. You just have to understand that what is remainder term, that you are approximating a function at some point by their derivative by means of their Taylor's polynomial. Okay, so since you are approximating, there is some error. That error part is called remainder, and the remainder have many types of forms. You can take any form as you like. The first form which I have written is called Lagrange's form. This remainder term is called Lagrange's remainder, and the last one which I have written that is called Cauchy's form of remainder. So you will be asked to write Taylor's theorem, or have to give example or anything, whatever. You will be there will be clear instruction of what is the Lagrange's form or form of remainder, or it will be Cauchy's form of remainder. Or you may sometimes ask that what is the Lagrange's form of remainder, or what is the Cauchy's form of remainder in the Taylor's theorem. So this thing they can ask. So whenever, so here you can see that if is a function, we are considering the functional value at a very nearby point, that is a plus h, and that nearby point, the value of the function at the nearby point, is approximated by this Taylor's polynomial, or this Taylor's polynomial thing, and a remainder. And this Taylor polynomial you are considering where? At A. See, at x is equals to A. This Taylor's polynomial is made up of the functional values and the derivative values at A point. So this is, for example, this is your number line, this is A, you are considering functional value here. So whatever things you are taking the functional value, the derivative value, all the derivative values at this point, and you are constructing the value here. You see from the thing. So there must be some error, because you can't approximate this in this way. There should be some error, and this error is called this error can have these two types of form, Lagrange's and Cauchy's form. So this is the Taylor's polynomial. So Taylor's series is different thing. So Taylor's series means this: whenever you have a polynomial of infinite order, then becomes Taylor series. So whenever, in the sense of in going towards infinity, this kind of situation may arise. But before going into this, I would need to tell one thing, that you might have heard this Maclaurin's series. So what is meant by Maclaurin series is the same thing, is the interval becomes 0 to x. So previously our interval was a plus h, and now you just change a to be 0 and h to be x, and rewrite the everything I have told you in the Taylor's theorem, the last page. Rewrite everything and you will get the Maclaurin series. The Maclaurin series is nothing but Taylor's series around origin, because you are taking a to be 0, it's called its origin basically. So you are getting Maclaurin series, the same Lagrange's and Cauchy's form of remainder. You just rename all those things, you put a to be 0 and h to be x, and you will get the Maclaurin series. So this is the Maclaurin series, and sometimes one modifications also there, like Taylor's theory with generalized remainder. This generalized remainder is nothing but this remainder, h to the power n 1 minus theta whole to the power n minus p. This is another remainder. May sometime you will get if a plus theta h fn. So where theta is in this range. So this is basically Taylor's theorem with generalized remainder. This is the generalized remainder Rn. So rest of things are the same. So the continuity of all the things are assumed. That means if dash up to if n minus 1, all are continuous, and if n exists, so they are continuous in this region a plus h, and exist here derivative. So if this happens, then p is a given positive integer, and there will exist a value theta such that f of a plus h is equals to Taylor's polynomial plus this remainder term. All the things are the same, no problem. Just this is a generalized form of remainder that I need to emphasize. This is a generalized form of remainder. Sometimes we can ask this thing. So the implication of Taylor's theorem and Taylor's series is quite large, and I think I will not be able to do complete justice to this Taylor's theorem and Taylor's series in one single lecture. because these two things require at least 3 to 4 lectures to clear everything. So this is actually quite tough to explain Taylor's series also, because there are lots of problems are there in the infinite domain. So in the finite domain, you have a function, you are doing a Taylor series. This is, you can say, it is Taylor polynomial of degree n, and you are doing some remainder term. You are expressing in this way, and you are and this Taylor's theorem gives you when to write this equality, or how to write this equality. So these ideas actually will be generalized. This Taylor's polynomial will be generalized to Taylor's series. So what is meant by Taylor series? So Taylor series is nothing but that same thing, f of a, h f dash a, that whole thing will be there. If double dash a, this whole thing will be there, but now up to infinite number of terms, not the finite number of terms. That you see in the previous case that it we cut down after a finite number of terms, after n terms or n minus 1 terms, we cut down here. But whenever you are talking about this series thing, these whole things are going towards infinity. The powers are going towards infinity. H to the power infinite will be there. So this thing is called Taylor's infinite series. So this thing is called Taylor's infinite series. So the question is, if we can write a function, any function equal to its Taylor's infinite series, we can write or not, or when we can write. You can see clearly that this Rn is basically that function minus its Taylor series. So whenever n tends to infinity and this Rn tends to 0, you see this thing happens. That means whenever the remainder terms goes to 0 as n tends to infinity, that the function is going to its Taylor series. So this is a polynomial, and whenever I am writing in the infinite sense, this will not be the exact polynomial but the Taylor series. Okay, because I told you that in the sense of infinity, whenever n tends to n is going towards infinity, the Taylor's polynomial becomes Taylor series. So it's like a series. So the function goes towards that Taylor series. But the problem is there is a problem of convergence. Can be a convergence. That means the sum can goes, or you can do the sum. This sum, which sum I am talking about? This summation, this addition, whole thing you can perform, and it will give you a particular thing. Or sometimes it can diverge. That means the sum will be anything. This kind of weird situations can arise, and if this Taylor's infinite series, this series is called actually the Taylor's infinite series. A function, even if this Taylor's infinite series converge, this Taylor's infinite series may not be equal to the function itself. There is a kind of ambiguity. That means this function, this Taylor series is converging, but this converging thing cannot be, or is not equal to the function. This weird situation can arise. So in order to have the convergence, we need to check the remainder term. So since I am not going actually in details, because this will very much involve these ideas of convergence and divergence you need, and this thing actually you haven't read in your previous classes. So actually these ideas and required I have to tell you about, say, what is sequence and what is series. All these things, without these things you can't actually I can't explain what is mean by Taylor series and what is mean by convergence. Is actually I think these ideas will like I'm telling you, and this whole thing is passing over your head. So actually this thing is little bit different and actually difficult, but whatever I can't do anything because this is syllabus, and the people who made this syllabus don't understand these things. These things require some other knowledge. Without this knowledge, you can't actually explain someone all these things. If you try to explain, this thing will be like this one. So you will understand a little bit. So I am telling you again that the idea is to write a function by a polynomial. That thing you have succeeded. Now the idea is to write a function by a series. Series is not a polynomial but an extended version of a polynomial to infinite terms. So whenever I am going to, or I want to write by some series, you need to check the convergence of the series. If this series, or sometimes this, if you take this series to be Taylor series, even if it is the Taylor series of the function of this function, and this series is convergent, even if in that case that series may not converge to that function, or this equality may not hold. I am telling you again that this TS is nothing but this series. This is the Taylor series of the function f. Okay, so this is the Taylor series of the function f, and I am telling you that it may be the case that this is not the case. F is not equal to its Taylor series itself. Okay, this may happen even if this Taylor series is convergent. This Taylor series is convergent, but this Taylor series is not, this function f is not equals to its Taylor series, because I told you that we need this kind of thing. This remainder term should goes to 0. So without remainder term goes to 0, you can't explain, or you can't do this kind of thing. So in the infinite series, for the case of infinite region, actually, so Taylor's theory, Taylor's series in the infinite region is it is the Taylor series. Taylor's series. If someone asks to write what is the Taylor series of some function f of x, so what you will do, you will just, or this is the Taylor series, f of a plus h f dash a plus h squared by 2 factorial f double dash a in this way. So in this way, you can write the Taylor series of the function f. So this is the Taylor series around the point A. So in the case of Maclaurin series, you will take a to be 0 and h to be x, and in this case I am considering this region here. In the Maclaurin's case, thing will be like a to be 0 and h to be x. This is the Maclaurin's. Okay, so this is the thing, and you have in your example, or in your for your exercise, you have to find out this Taylor series for some functions, some known functions like sin x, cos x, log 1 plus x. These are some simple functions, and I guess sin x, cos x, log x, x to the power m will be there. No, x to the power, sorry, e to the power x. Oh, sorry. E to the power x. These are some common functions, and another these things which I was going to talk. This kind of thing from some m. This kind of results actually you have in your syllabus. Just go through the syllabus and check. This here m can be any fraction also. So these are some basic functions for which you have to find their Taylor series, and how to find the Taylor series. And it will be generally this Taylor series will be around 0, so the value of a will be 0, and you have to calculate all the derivatives, f dash a, f double dash a, all these things you have to find out these derivatives, and you will have to write the Taylor series. It's a simple thing. Okay, so you can write a very simple way, and for these functions, and you check this. I think these all these things are there in your book, or actually you have done this, but the thing which is not there, you might find in your in some books, and that this remainder term. So I am telling you that this is the Taylor series, but the thing is, when this Taylor series is equals to the function, so whenever you calculate for sin x this Taylor series, it's fine, you will get a polynomial, this kind of infinite series, actually a polynomial but in terms of infinite series. So you can't say this sin x is equals to the polynomial or the series whichever you will get. You can't say at once that sin is equals to this thing. It is not the case. For that you have to prove that this Rn part, this remainder part, should goes to 0. So if this part remainder term goes to 0 in the limiting sense, in the tends to infinity limiting sense, then you can say this sin x is that series is equals to that series. So without proving this thing, this remainder term goes to 0, you can't prove, or you can write this equality. So you only can say that this is the Taylor's series, Taylor's infinite series of sin x. This is the Taylor's infinite series of sin x. You can only say that. And if you can prove that remainder part is going towards 0, as in goes towards infinity, then only you can say that this sin x is equals to this series thing. Whatever you will get from simplifying this expression. Okay. So in general, whenever you see the sin x cos x, they are all for this thing. You will not need this Maclaurin's expression, because here you will put a to be 0 and h to be x, and rewrite this Taylor series and do the extension. Just you have to find out the derivatives. And I know you have done the successive derivatives, because you see all the successive derivatives are needed. So since you have done those successive derivatives, these ideas are needed. So this is the case of finding Taylor series. So there may be some functions I can give you that will be beneficial for you. Try to find out the Taylor series of the function. Try to find what is, this is your task. Apart from this thing, so one of the exercises will come in your exam. This is the standard examples. One of them will come in your exam definitely. So apart from this, do try for this function, what is the Taylor series of the function. This is your function defined in this way. So my question is, what is the Taylor series? So do find out what is the Taylor series, and do check whether this Taylor series is equals to the function. That means whether this is happening. This is happening. Do check and tell me whether the Taylor series of the function f is equals to the function. Whether it can happen. So I can the thing which I have told you, that even if the Taylor series is convergent, even if the Taylor series is convergent, the Taylor series may not equal to the function itself, or the function may not, or the Taylor series cannot or is not converging to the function. So Taylor series, but it may not converge to the function. So in that case, the function is not equals to that the Taylor series. So Taylor series is a different idea. Is a series. It's nothing to do with the function, but it has to do with the function if it satisfies some criteria. The criteria is the remainder term. The remainder term should goes towards 0. Without this thing, and obviously that series should be a convergent. Just convergence will not assure the function is equals to the Taylor series. That is the point I am emphasizing today again and again. So these are all about Taylor's theorem and Maclaurin's theorem, and I cost 750 already. So that's I think for today. Sufficient, and this actually covered my whole part of syllabus. So maybe you can do some problems from here, or I can give you problems if you don't have exercise. There are lots of problems. So this thing will be there. আচ্ছা আরেকটা জিনিস যেটা জানা সেটা হচ্ছে L'Hopital rule in terms of limit and continuity. So L'Hopital rule is done in your syllabus. Sir has done or not this L'Hopital rule? Can anyone say L'Hopital rule from limit and continuity?
Yes, sir.
হয়ে গেছে না? আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, তাহলে যদি L'Hopital rule হয়ে যায় তাহলে মোটামুটি তোদের সিলেবাস এইখানেই শেষ। So the last point is that you will get this in this exam lots of alternatives will be there, so no need to worry. Lots of options will be there, so you can choose any problem whatever fit you. So do try this, you just must try these 4 or 5 problems, and the last problem which I have talked to you, this is a very interesting problem, and there's a very if you read further about Taylor series or Taylor theorem, this is a very interesting and motivating thing. Like a function which have a Taylor series you will get, but the Taylor series will not be equals to the function, you will see. But another interesting point is that this Taylor series is convergent. So the Taylor series is a convergent series, but apart although it is converging, but the Taylor series is not equals to the function. So I think you will find out. I'm leaving this thing for you. So for your exercise or for your exam purpose, these 5 things are there, and this all these things are done in your book. Go through the book and do check whether they are telling you to find the Taylor series or the Taylor polynomial, because if they are talking about Taylor polynomial, the things and situations are very easy. So just follow the methods previously which I have talked to and if it is series, so there is a little problem, because this you can't write directly sin x is equals to like this thing, because this kind of expressions will be there in your question paper, that so that sin x is equals to such and such, or log of 1 by x is equals to such and such. But these things are not that simple, because for that thing you have to prove the that remainder term should goes to 0. But this remainder term is going towards 0. It needs the idea from sequence and series. So it might be done in your there may be some you can check that D'Alembert's ratio test, or like those things are done in for this kind of proof. But I know this D'Alembert's ratio test or such kind of tests you have not done, because these tests are only in sequence and series. So even if I cannot tell out what is meant by D'Alembert's test, because the idea is not very simple. So actually simple, but without knowing the idea of sequence and series, I can't tell you. So that's for today, I guess. So maybe the next day I can solve some problems if I get time, some examples for you. So আজকে দেখ এর মধ্যে যদি কিছু বলার থাকে বলতে পারিস, কিছু অসুবিধা নেই। আজকে আমরা যেটুকুনি পড়ালাম সেটুকুনি হচ্ছে বেসিক্যালি idea of how to take the partial derivatives. So the problems will come from there, like Euler's theorem, Euler's first theorem and second theorem, problems from those two theorems. And the next thing which I have talked is Taylor series and MBT. The other three MBTs are there: Rolle's theorem, Lagrange's theorem, Cauchy's theorem. So for Lagrange's and Cauchy's, proofs will be there. You have to do the proofs, go through the proofs. They are very simple. If you can't understand, do tell me. I'll do this thing in the next class. I guess the next class will be the last class. Basically the last class will be next class. So you tell me, I will check those or these two things. This Lagrange's and Cauchy's, these two MBTs, their proofs. The proof of Rolle's theorem is not there in your syllabus. You just need the statement to come in your exam. So you have to write the statement, and this verification things will be there. These are the common examples. And such kind of inequality, this kind of inequality, proof of this such kind of inequality, you will check in your book that this kind of problems, there will be 2 or 3 different kind of problems like this. So this kind of problems will be one, I guess one of those problems will definitely come. This inequality kind of things where you have to take or check the sign of the derivative. So these are the things. And the last thing is Taylor's polynomial and Taylor's series. So the statement of Taylor's theorem is needed, and the form of remainders required, and obviously the expansions of some basic functions like sin x, cos x, log 1 plus x, and e to the power x, and 1 plus x whole to the power n. These 4-5 functions are there in your syllabus, and for this function you see you have to just calculate the successive derivatives, nothing more than that. And for the remainder term you have to do lots of calculation, and I guess these things will be avoided because since you don't know exactly how to do this or do this convergent kind of thing. So I think in the question paper somehow they will avoid, and just by telling you just find the Taylor series, or by asking you to find only the Taylor's polynomial, not the whole expansion. So that's assured. Okay. So that's for today, I guess. এর মধ্যে কিছু বলার থাকলে বলার একবার বলতে পারিস, কোনোটা যদি বুঝতে অসুবিধা হয়। এর মধ্যে কারো কিছু বলার থাকলে বলতে পারিস, বলে ভাই।
স্যার স্ক্রিনশট একটা দেখাবো?
হ্যাঁ, যা যা দেখো জানো। হ্যাঁ বল, দেখতে পাচ্ছি, তুই বল।
স্যার বলছি যে 31 এরটা আছে না, এইটা কিভাবে করব একটু বলবেন?
কত নম্বর?
এই যে 31 এরটা।
1 এরটা? আচ্ছা, 1 এরটা তো কিছুই না। আমি তোকে আমরা যখন তোকে কন্টিনিউটি বলেছিলাম, তোকে বলেছিলাম বেসিক রুলস অফ কন্টিনিউটি, মানে কোন কোন ফাংশনগুলো কন্টিনিউয়াস, যেগুলোকে আমরা কিছু না করেই পরিষ্কার বুঝতে পারি। তার মধ্যে প্রথম ফাংশনটা দেখেছিলাম, দেখবি মনে পড়বে, দেখবি যে পলিনোমিয়াল ফাংশন। So polynomial function, whenever you face, you must know that these polynomial functions are always continuous. X to the power 7 plus x square plus 1 is a polynomial function. পলিনোমিয়াল মানে কি? পলিনোমিয়াল মানে হচ্ছে এক্স এর পাওয়ার কিছু থাকবে, তার ঘাড়ে কিছু কোফিশিয়েন্ট থাকবে, গুণ হয়ে আলটিমেটলি যোগ এরকম হয়ে থাকবে। মানে আমি আজকে আরেকবার লিখেছিলাম, জেনারেল ফর্ম a0 প্লাস a1x প্লাস a2x স্কোয়ার প্লাস a3x কিউব এরকম ভাবে থাকবে ফাইনাইট অবধি। So this is a part of this is a polynomial function. Polynomial function is everywhere continuous. So ডিসকাস করার বলতে এটাই ডিসকাস, দিস ফাংশন ইজ এভরিওয়্যার কন্টিনিউয়াস, কোনো পয়েন্টে ডিসকন্টিনিউটি নেই। ওকে,
তাহলে এটা কিভাবে লিখবো?
যেটা বললাম সেটাই লিখবি যে as we know that this is a polynomial function and as you know that this polynomial function are everywhere continuous, so the function is fx is everywhere continuous function. There's no point of discontinuity.
আচ্ছা,
বিহেভিয়ার তোদের কাছে জানতে
মানে
চাই,
এক্স এর মান কিছু বের করতে হবে না? এক্স এর মান কিছু বের করতে হবে না?
মান কি বের করবি? মান তো কিছু বের করার নেই। যদি ডিসকন্টিনিউটি থাকতো তবে তো মানটা বের করবি, যেখানে ডিসকন্টিনিউটি নেই বলছি, তাহলে আর কিসের মান বের করবি? মান কার বের করিস? যে পয়েন্টে ডিসকন্টিনিউটি রয়েছে সেই মানটা বের করিস, সেই ভ্যালুগুলো বের করিস।
আচ্ছা,
দেয়ার ইজ
ঠিক
নো
আছে।
ডিসকন্টিনিউটি এট অল, কি বের করবি? যেমন পরের প্রবলেমটা x ইকুয়ালস টু 1 পয়েন্টে ডিসকন্টিনিউয়াস দেখতে পাচ্ছি, কারণ ওখানে মডুলাস ফাংশন রয়েছে, মডুলাস অফ x মাইনাস 1। সো মডুলাস অফ x মাইনাস 1 ইজ ডিসকন্টিনিউয়াস এট x ইকুয়ালস টু 1 এ। এই ফাংশনটার গ্রাফটা যদি তুই আঁকিস, আবার ভুল বলছি, x মাইনাস 1 এর ডিফারেন্সিয়েবল নয়, কন্টিনিউটি রয়েছে, এটা তো কন্টিনিউটি বের করতে বলেছে, ডিফারেন্সিবিলিটি নয়। এটা যদি কন্টিনিউটি বের করতে বলে, সেম কেস, মডুলাস x মাইনাস 1 ইজ এ কন্টিনিউয়াস ফাংশন, তার সাথে sin x আছে, sin x একটা কন্টিনিউয়াস ফাংশন, দুটো যোগ করে কন্টিনিউয়াস হবে। বাট আবারও বলছি, যদি এটা যদি ডিফারেন্সিবিলিটি বা ডেরিভেটিভিটি যদি বলে বের করতে বলে, this function is there is a problem at the point x equals to 1 because it's a mod function এর গ্রাফটা যদি আঁকিস দেখবি ওই 1 পয়েন্টে সার্টেন ডিরেকশন চেঞ্জ হয়ে যাচ্ছে। x equals to mod x এর গ্রাফটা মনে আছে? mod x গ্রাফ ইজ নাথিং লাইক v শেপে, v শেপে 0 পয়েন্টে v শেপে, এটাও একদম সেম হবে, ওই x equals to 1 পয়েন্টে v শেপ হয়ে যাবে। v শেপটা একটু প্যারালালি শিফট করবে at x equals to 1 পয়েন্টে, ঠিক আছে? এটা হচ্ছে mod of x minus 1 এর গ্রাফ, তার সাথে sin x আছে, sin x থাকলে ওখানে আরেকটা তোর ওয়েভি একটা নেচার এখান থেকে একটা গ্রো করবে, সেটা ঠিক আছে। কিন্তু অ্যাজ এ হোল sin x is a continuous function, mod of x minus 1 is also another continuous function, so we are adding two continuous function, so the resulting function is a continuous function, এইটাই লিখতে হবে। ওকে, আর যদি ডিফারেন্সিবিলিটি চেক করতে বলতো, আবার বলে দিচ্ছি ডিফারেন্সিবিলিটি হচ্ছে, এটা হচ্ছে, আমি যেহেতু বারবার এটা ভুল বলে ফেলি, যে sin x ফাংশনটা হচ্ছে তো ডিফারেন্সিয়েবল, আর বক্স অফ x মাইনাস 1টা এটা হচ্ছে x ইকুয়ালস টু 1 পয়েন্টে ডিফারেন্সিয়েবল নয়। তো যদি ডিফারেন্সিবিলিটি চেক করতে বলতো তাহলে এই কথাটা লিখিস যে এই ফাংশনটা এইভাবে স্টাডি করলে দেখা যাচ্ছে যে x ইকুয়ালস টু ওই প্রথম পার্টটা x ইকুয়ালস টু 1 পয়েন্টে ডিফারেন্সিয়েবল নয়, বাট sin x ডিফারেন্সিয়েবল এনিওয়েজ। So ultimately ফাংশনটা x equals to 1 পয়েন্টে ডিফারেন্সিয়েবল না, বাট কন্টিনিউয়াস রয়েছে, কন্টিনিউটি এভরিওয়্যার। সো কন্টিনিউয়াস বাট নন ডিফারেন্সিয়েবল ফাংশন। ওকে,
আর স্যার থার্ডেরটা
কি আছে? থার্ডেরটা cos of x to the power n, cos ফাংশন রয়েছে, আলটিমেটলি cos ফাংশন, তো cos ফাংশন হচ্ছে কন্টিনিউয়াস ফাংশন, cos কি একটা ওয়েভি নেচার পাবি, তাই তো? cos অফ যেটাই থাকুক না কেন ভেতরে x to the power n, আলটিমেটলি এটা হচ্ছে কন্টিনিউয়াস ফাংশন, cos ফাংশন, বিকজ ওই তোর সাইন কস এই ফাংশন গুলো হচ্ছে কন্টিনিউয়াস কোথায় নেই? tan ফাংশনে নেই। tan এর যখন গ্রাফ আঁকবি দেখবি π/2 আর π/2 এর অড মাল্টিপল যেগুলো রয়েছে সেই সমস্ত ফাংশনে যে পয়েন্টে তোকে দেখবি পেনটা ওঠাতে হচ্ছে, বা ওইখানে দেখবি ইনফাইনাইটের দিকে চলে যাচ্ছে tan এর লিমিটটা করে দেখবি। তো সুতরাং ওই পয়েন্টগুলোতে ডিসকন্টিনিউটি হবে, কিন্তু cos ফাংশনের বেলায় কোনো ডিসকন্টিনিউটি নেই। cos ফাংশন আর sin ফাংশন তো প্রায় সমান, জাস্ট একটা ফেজের ডিফারেন্স, তাই তো? তো কিছু চেঞ্জ কিছুই হয়, কি জানে শিফট করে যায়, আর কিছুই হয় না। সুতরাং ওটা পেন ওঠানোর কোনো দরকার নেই, কিছুই নেই, একদম সিম্পল একটা ওয়েভ প্যাটার্ন। সুতরাং এখানে কোনো মানে কন্টিনিউটির তো কোনো প্রবলেম নেই, ডিফারেন্সিবিলিটিও চেক করে দেখিস তারও কোনো প্রবলেম নেই। ভেরি গুড ফাংশন। x to the power n, n is a natural number obviously, মানে n square n cube এরকম আছে, এতে কোনো প্রবলেম। কিন্তু প্রবলেম হতে পারতো কখন? এই ফাংশনটাতেই প্রবলেম হতে পারতো, কিন্তু কখন হতে পারতো বলতো, যখন এনটা নেগেটিভ হয়ে যেত, এন এর ভ্যালুটা যখন নেগেটিভ হতো, মানে আমি যদি বলি ধর এক্স টু দি পাওয়ার মাইনাস ওয়ান, সো কস ওয়ান বাই এক্স, তাই তো, দ্যাট উইল
হ্যাঁ
বি কস ওয়ান বাই এক্স। সো কস ওয়ান বাই এক্স এই ফাংশনটাতে প্রবলেম আছে, দেয়ার ইজ এ প্রবলেম, এক্স ইকুয়ালস টু জিরোতে প্রবলেম আছে। সো এক্স ইকুয়ালস টু জিরোতে দ্যাট ফাংশন হ্যাজ এ ডিসকন্টিনিউটি। ওকে, কিন্তু নর্মাল কস ওয়ান বাই এক্স এ কিন্তু আর কোনো প্রবলেম নেই, এক্স ইকুয়ালস টু জিরো ছাড়া। তো এখানে n যেহেতু ন্যাচারাল নাম্বার বলেছে, সিন্স n ইজ এ ন্যাচারাল নাম্বার, আর n ন্যাচারাল নাম্বার মানে ন্যাচারাল নাম্বার কোনগুলোকে বলি, 1 2 3 এইগুলোকে ন্যাচারাল নাম্বার বলি। দেয়ার ইজ নো পসিবিলিটি অফ মাইনাস ওয়ান মাইনাস টু। তো যেহেতু পসিবিলিটি নেই, সুতরাং এই ফাংশনটা ইজ কন্টিনিউয়াস ফাংশন। পসিবিলিটি যদি এটা ন্যাচারাল নাম্বার কেউ না লিখে কেটে দিয়ে এটাকে ইন্টিজার করে দিত, দেয়ার উইল বি আ প্রবলেম, মানে দেয়ার উইল বি প্রবলেমস ফর n যখন নেগেটিভ হতো তখন প্রবলেম হবে। বুঝে গেছে?
হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ, আর কিছু?
না
আর নেই তো? আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আজকে আপাতত এর মধ্যে ছাড়ছি, পরের দিন আরেকদিন দেখছি কোনদিন তোদের সাথে অ্যারেঞ্জ করে তোরা যে কোনো জায়গা থেকে প্রবলেম বের করে রাখতে পারিস, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, আমার সাথে ডিসকাস করতে পারিস, মানে তোদের হোল সিলেবাস আমিও দেখছি, আমিও যদি কিছু তোদের জন্য কালেক্ট করে রাখতে পারি, আই ক্যান কালেক্ট। সো সবাই মিলে একসাথে তাহলে কিছু প্রবলেম তাহলে সলভ করবো।
স্যার, বলছি যে প্রিভিয়াস ইয়ারের কোনো স্যাম্পল পেপার পাবেন আপনি?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, আছে আছে আছে
একটু
আছে।
পাঠিয়ে দেবেন।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, পাঠিয়ে দেবো, ঠিক আছে, একটা না দুটো আছে বোধহয়, পাঠিয়ে দেবো, ঠিক আছে, দেখে নিস। নেক্সট ক্লাস কবে হবে আমি এই মুহূর্তে শিওর বলতে পারছি না, কারণ আমাদের অ্যাকচুয়ালি সমস্যা হয়ে যাচ্ছে, মাঝে মধ্যে কলেজ যেতে হচ্ছে, এবার সেই সকালবেলা কলেজ গিয়ে রাতের বেলা ফিরছি, মানে অদ্ভুত একটা সিচুয়েশন দাঁড়িয়ে গেছে, সেই জন্য ক্লাস এই সেমিস্টারে খুব যাতা হয়ে যাচ্ছে, কিছু করে টাইম করে ওঠা যাচ্ছে না ঠিক মতো। দেখা যাক, তাও এর মধ্যে আমি চেষ্টা করছি কোন একদিন। তোদের এক্সাম কত, 25 না 27, 25 না 27?
27।
27, হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, 10 দিন আছে এখন, মানে 10 দিনের মধ্যে একটা বা দুটো হয়ে যেতে পারে, হ্যাঁ ক্লাস নিয়ে নেবো। ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আজকের মধ্যে এখানেই তাহলে আপনি ছাড়ছি আর কি। ঠিক আছে।